Hello, everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Jeff Snyder coming to you from beautiful Freedom, California, with the inaugural episode of podcast Snyder on Sports. I'm looking forward to doing this on a regular basis. I have a passion for sports. I have a passion for talking about sports, and hopefully I can share that with you out there. And if you like what you hear, please subscribe. If you don't, give me some comments so I can improve this and get better and have a good time doing it. So, anyway, what I want to talk about tonight is the Cleveland Cavaliers coaching change. Kind of related to that, a couple follow-up questions. Number one, is LeBron James past his prime? And can LeBron James lead the Cleveland Cavaliers to an NBA championship? So some exciting times happening in Cleveland right now. A few days ago, David Blatt fired as the head coach. Tyronn Lue promoted to head coach. A lot of questions surrounding that, a lot of controversy. Obviously, a lot of people are putting in their 2 cents, so I figured I might as well too. So, to begin with, David Blatt, was he set up to fail? Some people say yes, some people say no, but I think the facts kind of support that this guy did not know what he was getting into. It's kind of funny because at the time he was hired, this was before, if you remember, this was before LeBron James had decided to come back to Cleveland. When David Blatt was hired, he was going to be leading a team of young up-and-coming players and hopefully get them to where they needed to be. But things changed in a hurry once LeBron made his decision to return back to his native Ohio. And, everyone's out there saying David Blatt, no NBA coaching experience on any level, assistant, head coach, anything. Guy had a lot of success internationally, several different national teams, several different teams in Europe, always produced a winning product. But you could tell almost from day one that he and LeBron were not hitting it off. I don't think there was ever that level of respect that a head coach needs in order to be successful. You could tell by the body language, and it progressed through last year into this year to the point where you could really tell that David Blatt might be the head coach, but we all knew who was calling the shots on that bench, and it wasn't him. So you gotta believe that he was kind of set up for failure. He was going to be the fall guy if things didn't go well. But, it kind of speaks to the win now philosophy of sports right now. This is a guy, rookie head coach, took his team to the NBA Finals. Was up 2-1 in the Finals. And, of course, from there, injury to Kyrie Irving. A lot of other things happened. He was up against it, I think, really a team of destiny at that point, the Golden State Warriors. But still, your very first year, you make it to the finals. The next year, you got some issues, obviously, but you got a pretty strong winning record. You're the number one seed so far in the Eastern Conference. But there's a lot of things underneath the surface that kind of, I think, boiled over and caused it to be that, hey, things aren't quite going the way we'd like them to. Let's see. Well, we're not going to fire LeBron, that's for sure. So you're going to have to go, David. I wish him well. I think he did as best as he could. Classy guy, good guy, and I think he deserves another shot in the association as a head coach. Only time will tell if that's going to happen. So, that kind of where we're at with David Blatt. So you got Tyronn Lue, promoted to head coach. If you look back at the time of the David Blatt hiring, Tyronn Lue was in the mix for that head coaching job. I believe he was interviewed for the job. And obviously they thought enough of him to make him kind of the associate head coach, the head coach in waiting in a way. He's got a fairly decent pedigree. 10 years player in the league. Won a couple championships with the Lakers under Phil Jackson. Probably best remembered in that finals the Lakers had against the 76ers, where his job was to drive Allen Iverson absolutely nuts. And he did an awfully good job of that. And so, he's got the street cred. He's got the years in the league. He was an assistant under Doc Rivers during their championship run, the Celts. A student of the game, hardworking individual. He's put a lot of time in. Good candidate. And I think overall a good hire, but I don't know if he's the guy that's going to solve their problems. Obviously, he had built a very strong relationship with LeBron. Did a little digging. He's known LeBron since LeBron was 17, and he has obviously become very close to him. So that kind of leads us to my next question. And of course everybody asks this. How much of an influence, how much of a role did LeBron James play, in number one, in the firing of David Blatt, and then the hiring of Tyronn Lue? Now, if you look at the press conference, David Griffin, Cavs GM, he was very emphatic about making sure everybody understood that in no way, shape, or form was LeBron James making this decision. No way, shape, or form was he even involved in the decision-making process. Well, I'd like to believe that. I really, really would. I'd really like to believe that, a player, no matter how great he is not the guy making your personnel decisions. And, maybe you can say, yes, in so many words, that he wasn't part of the decision-making process, that he had no influence on it. But you got to believe that he did have an influence, under the surface. Because, man, I wouldn't want David Griffin's job for all the money in the world right now. You are in a situation that I don't think you're ever going to be successful at. It really comes down to the circumstances under which LeBron returned to Cleveland. He's basically signed to a series of one-year contracts, to where he has the decision after every season whether he's going to continue with his grand experiment in Cleveland, or whether he's going to, as he so succinctly put earlier in his career, take his talents elsewhere. So here you got a guy, obviously the best, if not the best, one of the top 3 players in the league. Huge source of revenue, huge source of marketing, huge source of merchandising. He's your cash cow. He is what is bringing in the bacon for you. And sure, maybe you didn't sit down with him and say, hey, LeBron, we're thinking about cutting David Blatt loose, or thinking about putting Tyronn in his spot. What do you think? Okay, maybe it didn't go down like that. Probably didn't. But you got to believe that in the back of David Griffin's mind was, what do I have to do to keep LeBron happy? To keep LeBron happy enough that he's going to stay here and continue this little quest that he's on to bring a championship to Cleveland. So, like I said, it's kind of weird. I mean, the whole relationship between LeBron and the Cavaliers is just downright strange. I mean, when you think about, coming out of high school, he was the savior, he was the king, had some great years with Cleveland, came really, really close to bringing that ring back to Cleveland. So close, and he electrified the fans. He brought it every single night. He was a great talent, just an amazing physical talent. Came close over the years. It started to be the handwriting was on the wall for him. He saw that this wasn't going to happen in Cleveland for him. So he's got to strike while the iron's hot, right? He's got to think about LeBron. He's got to think about, okay, where am I going to maximize my earning potential? Where am I going to maximize my opportunity to win championships? So, through a series of events that I really don't want to get into, he decided to join up with Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, the Miami Heat. Won a few championships, maybe should have won a few more. That's neither here nor there. Then he started getting the itch, I think. He started hearing, well, yeah, LeBron, you've won a couple rings, but, it wasn't just you. You got Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, great supporting cast, great GM, Pat Riley, orchestrating everything. So, maybe it was an ego thing. Maybe he's saying, okay, I gotta go back. I gotta make it my own, and say. So again, he made his decision. Now he's back with Cleveland. So it's this on again, off again. We're together, we're broke up, we're back together. And now he's been back in Cleveland for a few years. And I really do think in his heart of hearts, he wants to make this happen. He really, honestly wants to bring a championship to the fans of Ohio, of Cleveland. So he is seriously committed, I think, to that. But again, he left himself that out with the way his contract is structured. So just in case, this isn't going to work out again, I got a way out. And in turn, that puts the whole franchise in this year-to-year type of thing, where, yeah, we're planning for the future now. We're bringing in these people to put around LeBron. But the whole time you're thinking, well, at the end of the year, LeBron's going to have this report card on us and it's going to say, yeah, I think you did enough. I'll stick around. Or, you're just not listening to me. You don't understand my needs. I got to go. And that really puts a real pinch on everybody involved because you can't win a championship like that. You can't win thinking, God, if I don't get it done this year, this is all going straight to hell because of one guy. So, again, just a strange relationship right there. Really off the wall. I don't think there's another situation like it in the NBA. I'm not sure if there's even another situation like it in all of professional sports where one athlete, as great as he is, and don't get me wrong, I am not a LeBron hater. I want to go on record right now that I have nothing but respect and admiration for this guy's talent, his drive, his dedication to the game. But man, do you really want one player having that much power over an organization? Just putting it out there, just asking the question, I guess. So that kind of covers the coaching change, where I'm at with that, and I guess time will tell. We're going to find out in the next 40 games or so whether Tyronn Lue can be the guy that brings this team together, and they go on to win the Eastern Conference, and then go on to win an NBA championship. Right now, Tyronn Lue's saying all the right things. He really is, and I think he gets it. I think he understands that, okay, and I kind of hesitate to call him a big three, but if you look at Cleveland, their big three are obviously LeBron James, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Love. And Tyronn Lue's come out and said, our success depends upon how well our big three work together. And like I said, I hesitate to call them a big three. Big one and maybe little two. I don't know, maybe even big two and little one. But it's the hand that Tyronn Lue's been dealt, and that's what he's got to work with. And it's very it's very reminiscent of when LeBron went to Miami. When you think about it, when he first got there, and they had the press conference and the fireworks and not one, not two, not three, blah, 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 all that good stuff. And people thought, man, they're just going to roll the ball out on the court and they're going to win every freaking game. Well, reality told us a different story, didn't it? They had a lot of struggles when they first got together. How to mesh these three talents, how to mesh LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade. All extremely talented on their own, but they had to learn what their role was. They had to learn how they were going to play best for the team. And that, to their credit, to Pat Riley's credit, to their head coach's credit, they figured it out. And they were under tremendous, tremendous pressure to do that. I mean, people expected them to win every game. And when they didn't right away, man, they heard about it. So, it took them a while. They righted the ship. They figured it out, and they had a lot of success together. But now what LeBron is faced with is trying to recreate that in Cleveland, okay? And yes, Kyrie Irving is an up-and-coming star in this league. Kevin Love is a talented basketball player. But there is no way that you can compare Kyrie Irving to Dwayne Wade in his prime. There is no way that you can compare Kevin Love to Chris Bosh in his prime. So you have what LeBron is faced with, what Tyronn Lue is faced with, is a diminished big three situation. And they are really having a struggle to make this work. And I don't know. I don't see it happening. I don't see those three meshing their talents to be successful on the championship level. And I don't think that's going to entirely be LeBron James's fault. I think LeBron James is in this 100% to win. He is focused. He is dedicated to making this happen. And I think through LeBron, Kyrie Irving is in that same boat. But when you get to Kevin Love, I'm not feeling it. I'm not seeing it. He's not passing the eye test with me. He is a very talented guy, but has some huge holes in his game, some huge weaknesses. He's not, okay, let's just put it out there. Kevin Love is not a good defensive basketball player. He's just not. He cannot effectively defend the pick and roll. And in the National Basketball Association, that is probably makes up 60 to 70% of any team's offense is the pick and roll. And he cannot defend that. And he is also, and I know all you Kevin Love supporters out there are going to hammer me for this, but he's not consistent. There's some games he'll put up numbers, and then there's some games where he will disappear. Has anyone had a Kevin Love sighting? Kevin, if you're out there, come back to us. And again, very talented player. He has worked hard on his game. When he came out of UCLA, he wasn't even projected to hardly be a starter in this league, let alone a star. And he worked really hard. He got himself in better shape. He worked on a lot of the things that he's good at. And he was the guy in Minnesota, But it's a lot easier to be the guy in a small market, on a small market team, where the expectations are not that high, rather than being part of a quote-unquote big three on a team where the expectation right now is not just to get to the NBA Finals, but to win. Just ask David Blatt whether getting to the NBA Finals was good enough. Obviously not. So, again, we get back to, can they get it together? And again, when you kind of compare them to the situation LeBron had in Miami, not only is this big three not the same as the big three in Miami, I don't think the supporting cast is anywhere near as good either. But like I said, time's going to tell. Is this going to happen? Is it not going to happen? But let me just throw out a couple things about why or why not, LeBron is going to be able to pull this off. If he can pull this off, man, it's going to solidify his spot. Maybe not on the Mount Rushmore, but definitely top 10 players of all time, because obviously he's achieved everything on the individual level. He's even got a few rings with Miami. If he can come back here and take this team to a championship, that's going to solidify his legacy as a leader, as a champion, and as one of the truly great players in the history of the NBA. But is that going to happen? There's a lot of things that play into whether this is going to happen or not. You got to kind of look back from where LeBron came from, okay? LeBron's background. Since this guy has been about, and I'm not exaggerating, since this guy's been about 12 or 13 years old, he's been on the radar for NBA scouts. He's been on the radar for NBA GMs that, hey, there's this kid. Let me tell you about this kid in Ohio. And the legend was born, So he's had to deal with that to where, from a very early age, he was recognized above everyone else at his level for his individual talent, right? High school, led his team, I believe, to championships, if I'm not mistaken. But at the same time, was just playing at a level so far above his competition that he just stood out. So that's where the whole, branding him the king, the savior, all those things. That's something that, I gotta tip my cap to him. Kudos to him on how well he has handled that over the course of his career. I mean, granted, he's had his moments, but for that kind of expectation level, that kind of pressure, he's kept his nose clean. He's been a positive force in the community wherever he's been. He's made whatever team he's on markedly better. Another sign of a champion. So, but that's still there. It's never going to go away. He's always going to be the king. He's always going to be expected to, leap tall buildings in a single bound. And that's tough. So that kind of plays into whether he's going to be able to make this happen or not. Because I truly believe that every truly great player that has won championships in this league, they have reached a point in their career where they realize no matter how fantastic their own individual abilities are, no matter how great their talent is, they realize that in the National Basketball Association, you cannot win a championship by yourself. Okay? And there's some very well-known examples of this. You look back to MJ, Michael Jordan. His first 3, 4, 5 years in the league, he was amazing. He was just otherworldly in his talents. Got every individual accolade, record, whatever you want to call it. he established that himself as a great individual player. But, and he had the drive. He wanted, probably more than any other player ever, he wanted more than anything to win championships. And he had his team, the Chicago Bulls, had some epic Eastern Conference final showdowns with the Pistons. Oh my gosh. The New York Knicks as well. Even when they got into the championship round with the Lakers. And he realized right about the time he turned, I believe, 28, that, something's got to change about the way I'm doing things. It's, every great player, you got to realize that, yes, the NBA is a player slash talent driven league. Everybody knows that. But in order to win championships, not only do you have to have the talent, you got to have a great organization, a great coaching staff in order to win championships in this league. So, Michael Jordan's 28, right? Phil Jackson had been an assistant on Doug Collins' staff with the Bulls. Now he's the head coach. And he brings in his two, they're legendary now. At the time, it was like, who the heck are these guys? But Tex Winter, John Bach. Tex Winter had been preaching this thing called triangle offense for years. Well, Phil Jackson bought into that triangle offense, and in turn, he was able to get Michael Jordan to buy into that triangle offense. And great team defense. That's the other thing you need to win a championship. You got to have the talent, you got to have the organization and coaching, and you got to play great team defense. That's just the bottom line. That's how it is. So Michael Jordan made that decision. He circumvented some of his personal success in order to make his team win a championship. And there was another couple important pieces on those teams, but what it really came down to was that the star of the team, Michael Jordan, bought in to what Phil Jackson was selling wholeheartedly. And because he did, he demanded that his teammates do the same. And because of that, they got to the next level. 6 championships later, well, I don't need to say anything else. It was a success. And it's what defined Michael Jordan when you get into these conversations, the famous who is better conversations. What do most people bring up? Well, how many championships did you win? Not how many scoring titles did you win, but how many championships did you win? And that's, outside of the Bill Russell era Celtics, that's where Michael Jordan trumps everybody, right? And that's kind of what LeBron has to do. It happened with Michael Jordan, with Phil Jackson and the Bulls. It happened again in LA, the Lakers, Shaq and Kobe, when Phil Jackson came on the scene. They had Shaq, they had Kobe, but they weren't winning. They were winning a lot of games, but they weren't winning any championships until Phil got there. And believe it or not, Michael Jordan played a huge role in trying to convince Kobe to buy into what Phil Jackson was saying. He obviously, Kobe had always looked up to Michael, but there was a lot of correspondence between the two, boiled down to, look, Kobe, I know what Phil says sometimes is a little bit off the wall, but you're going to get the results you want. You want to win championships? You listen to what this guy says, you listen to what his assistants say, and you execute. There you go. Another success story. And then, there's other ones throughout the league. You look at the Spurs. Same thing, Greg Popovich, clearly, I would say, clearly the best coach in the league at this time. And, you know, he's been with the Spurs a long time. When Tim Duncan came into that situation as a rookie, he had an older mentor, David Robinson, that kind of took him under his wing and said, hey, see that guy Popovich? He's going to lead us to the promised land. So we're doing whatever he says. And that's what happens. So basically, these stars that go on to win championships in their career, it's one of three things that happens to them. Number one, either the player gets a head coach that, because of whatever, whether the coach has had playing experience in the NBA, coaching success in the NBA, that star player respects that coach. I think anyone could tell, looking at LeBron James and David Blatt, there was no respect there. There was no, hey, you know what you're talking about, I'm going to do what you say. And that's got to be there. There's got to be that respect between the coach and the star. There's got to be maybe that older player, that mentor that's kind of takes you under your wing when you're a young player and says, hey, you're really great, but if you want some rings, this is what we got to do. And then there's the truly lucky ones that walk into a system that's already in place. You look at people like now Kawhi Leonard with the Spurs. There's no hesitation on his part about, I'm going to listen to what Greg Popovich has to say. I'm going to play in the system, and I'm going to win because it's happened before and it's going to happen again. So that's kind of the three ways that the star player makes his decision that he's going to take it to that next level and win championships. Happened to Michael when he was, I think, about 28. Shaq and Kobe, man, how old were they? I think Shaq was probably like maybe 27. Kobe was maybe like 23. I'm not real sure on the ages, but something like that. And, they made that decision, and they had a tremendous amount of success because of that. So you take that scenario and you try to apply it to LeBron, and this is where you kind of, it's reaching that point where it's got to happen for him, because LeBron's 31. 31, I know. It seems like last week he was coming out of high school and just killing it. He's 31 now. He's played, I believe this is his 13th year in the league. 13 years. Think about that. That's a whole career for most guys. Most guys. I think Larry Bird retired after his 13th year. And yet LeBron is still playing at an extremely high level. Extremely high level, but the clock is ticking, even with LeBron. And in a way, sometimes his style of play kind of works against him in that respect, because yes, he takes care of himself. Yes, he works hard, but it's the odometer reading on the engine. You know what I mean? How many games has that guy played already at 31? It's a lot. I'm not a numbers guy. I can't rattle off how many minutes he played, but it's been a lot. And the thing about his style of play is what's made him successful is he has always been a physically dominating force on the court. That was the key to his success. When he drove to the bucket, when he does drive to the bucket, most folks are getting out of the way. They're making I think it was Deion Sanders called it making a business decision. Well, a lot of guys throughout LeBron's career have been making business decisions when they see LeBron heading towards the basket. They don't want to be on the next poster. So, and that's great. That's what has made him special. That his combination of strength and speed, agility, I don't think we've ever seen it before. But at the same time, there's a shelf life on that kind of stuff. Your body's only going to take so much punishment, only so much abuse. And I'm going to put it out there, and like I said before, LeBron fans, please don't jump on me. I am not a LeBron hater, but you are starting to see certain situations, game situations, where LeBron is no longer that physically intimidating force against certain players. Let me put that in there. Certain players. There's certain younger players in the league now that can match LeBron physically. And up until now, that hasn't been the case. He's always had that advantage. And that only tells me that, sadly, this talent, this extraordinary talent we've been blessed to see for 13 years is starting to fade. Just starting, okay, just a smidge. There are times when you see it where he's not quite the same guy. Remember his first run with Cleveland? If the other team had a breakaway for a fast break bucket, how many times did you see LeBron come from 3/4 court away, fly up, and knock the layup right off of the guy's hand? That happened a lot. Now you got to ask yourself, how many times is that happening now? I think I've seen him do it once this year, and it's just kind of a reminder of, oh yeah, man, he used to do that all the time. Now, I'm not saying he's over the hill. He's still, like I said, probably top 3 in the league, but it's starting to happen for him, and that's, the clock's ticking. You're 31, the mileage is piling up. You got to make that decision that whoever the coach is, obviously it's not David Blatt. Maybe it's Tyronn Lue. Good relationship. The guy's got credibility, 10 years in the league, worked his way up as an assistant. Maybe he's that guy. Maybe he's that guy that you can work with, the organization can work with, that you can get your team to rise to that next level. So that's one of the things against him right now. Another one, it's that very complicated relationship, Yes, he seems committed. Yes, he's focused, but there's still that contract. There's still that every year I can opt out if I wanna thing. And that's, I don't know. I think that on some level that works against you. There's no way that you can put it completely out of your mind, nor can the coach, nor can the GM, nor can the other guys playing with you. So, yeah, and another thing I think that, maybe is going to be tough for him to make that jump with this team to the championship level. Just little things, he's never, yes, he wants to win. Yes, he wants his team to succeed, but there's always that in the background that from the time he was in high school, he was always the man. And, the way the league is structured right now, I just don't know if you can win a championship with one guy being the man and a bunch of other guys standing around and watching him being the man. So it's tough. It's going to be a tough road for him. There's no doubt about it. If he gets to that, wow, it's going to be something special. People are going to be talking about that for years. How he took this team with limited talent and got them to the NBA Finals and won a final. But again, what's got to happen is he's got to buy into that team concept like a great player should. He's got to remember he's a great player, not a great coach. They're paying him to be a great player, to be a leader on this team, to be that person that makes everybody else better. And he can do that. He's capable of that. But again, time will tell whether this is really going to happen for him. And going back to the coaching change, I think it's something that had to happen. I don't know if it had to happen right now, or maybe they should have made the decision after last season, but it just looks weird. A few days after that, you just get your lunch handed to you by the Warriors, and all of a sudden you're booting the coach to the curb. It just looks weird, And there were signs in that game. There were signs in the San Antonio game where there was a realization that, man, We're good. We're probably the best team in the East. But I don't know if we're going to beat this team 4 out of 7. And the frustration started to show, especially in the Warrior game. Him kind of tossing Steph Curry. Again, J.R. Smith getting that flagrant. It's the cracks are starting to show. So, man, I wish him the best. I hope that this change in putting Tyronn Lue in charge is going to make a difference. I know LeBron's going to do everything he can to make it happen, but again, like I said, talent alone is not going to win you that championship. You got to have the talent, but then you got to have a great coaching staff. And oh yeah, you got to play team defense. And that is probably the number one thing that the Cleveland Cavaliers are not doing right now. So Godspeed to them. I guess we're going to find out, like I said, in 40 games or so, whether this grand experiment's going to work, whether LeBron's going to re-up for another year, or whether or not it's the end of LeBron in Cleveland. Wow. What a soap opera, huh? Here, gone, here, maybe gone again. I don't know. Stay tuned, everybody. It should be pretty interesting. Anyway, that's about all I got right now. But it's been great talking to y'all. And if you like what you hear, please go ahead and subscribe. That's Snyder on Sports on YouTube. And please, positive or negative, I welcome all your comments. It's what's going to help me get better at this. And like I said, I just like talking about sports. So I'm very excited about continuing to do this. And I'll probably be talking to you soon, find another good topic to talk about. So in the meantime, everybody be good, stay safe, and God bless. Thank you.